We're in the mountains east of San Diego. We're in the Cuyamaca Mountains. These mountains are loaded with conifers. Most of the conifers are pines. But the cypress family is also represented here in the junipers, incense cedar, and the cypresses. We're underneath a nice specimen of the Arizona cypress, a tree fairly common in Arizona and surrounding states. But as a subspecies, sometimes this tree becomes not a common tree like the Arizona cypress, but a relatively rare tree, the cuyamaca cypress. This cypress and the Tecate cypress in San Diego are very special. They're found no place else in the planet other than a few surrounding areas. This is not as rare as the Tecate cypress, but it's pretty well localized here in San Diego County. It's a little more gray than the Tecate cypress. It's a little rougher to the touch than the Tecate cypress. There are some differences on the cones. One of the other things that makes the Cuyamaca cypress different than the Tecate cypress is the fact that it's loaded with sap. So if I'd spend any time touching and squeezing the branches on this tree, I'd get pretty sticky from the sap. You'll notice that these gray cone-like structures are unique to the cypresses, and we'll be looking at those up close shortly. Cuyamaca cypress, Cupressus stevensonii, or Cupressus arizonica, take your pick. The cypress family is quite different from the pine family. It doesn't have needles like the pine family. It has little scale structures. Not flat leaves, but little scale structures, not needles like in the pines. The cones are also different. They don't have the open scales like a pine. They're a sphere, and these things will open as they age. They'll also open with fire. So fire is an important part of the reproductive cycle of these cypresses. And this particular species, the Cuyamaca cypress, is blue-gray, which from a distance stands out among the green oaks and the green pines. There's a little structure on each of these cones, on each of the scales of the cones. It's called an umbo. And sometimes it's big, and sometimes it's small, and that differentiates some of the species. Here's a couple of cones. This is a young cone, all tight with the seeds within. This is an older cone. This older cone has given up its seeds. Sometimes it just dries out with age, and sometimes a fire comes through and opens the cones. So following fires, Cuyamaca cypress seeds are in the soil waiting for the next rains. Okay, we'll open up one of the scales. You can see the seeds inside. They're now in the ground, ready for the rains to germinate. Cuyamaca cypress, Cupressus arizonica, Cupressus stevensonii. So this is a very common member of the Southwest arid community, or a very specific, rare Cuyamaca cypress. Depends on the taxonomy that you follow. Common or rare. Right here in the Cuyamaca Mountains.